So that was Wild Man Lady Sleeps by John Coltrane.
Yeah.
Oh my
So
God.
you see now the shedding and the sobriety already paying off,
Yeah.
because what he just played there is kind of like perfect. It's beautiful. It's already him, fully formed. His ballad style is now uh, masterful. You hear the grace notes, the glissandi. He plays 16th notes against the beat. The way the band is just super hip. Everybody sounds great. That could have been 1963 Ballads album recording easily. Yet it's 57. You know?
Well, you took the words out of my mouth. I mean, to me, that's a perfect recording. It's just every
Yeah,
note is so precise in its
yeah,
intention. He's just totally, totally there. It almost, terrifies you that, oh my God, what if he hadn't beat the devil? You know?
yeah.
You go like,
Like he was already playing really good. It's just that the sobriety is going to take this honest, earnest, hard-working guy, this beautiful person's playing to this next level,
yeah,
you know?
great, great
And
choice for a
yeah, right
pick
off the
tune, by the way.
bat, he
Yeah.
plays da da do do dee da 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 do do da. That's kind of a bebop hallmark lick that Bird and them would play. That's in the canon of bebop language, and then at the end you have the trumpet player come in and they harmonize so well together, right? The guy doesn't take a solo. Who is the guy? Get this. His name is Johnny Splawn. Plays trumpet on some of that album. Who knows who's that?
Yeah.
Right? What happened to that man? Because he sounds great. And guess who's on drums? Albert Heath, Tootie Heath, one of the Heath brothers. Philly homeboy on drums on that whole album. And PC is on the whole album. And then the funny thing is that the piano chair changes every other tune, but it's all recorded on the 31st of May. On the 31st of May was also recorded a lot of people's a lot of people's favorite recordings of Train is the way he plays on I Hear a Rhapsody, which was released on the Lush Life album, but it was recorded on 5/31/57 on the Coltrane session. It just didn't make it onto the album. But the piano chair changes every other tune, so I'm not sure if both of the guys were like, all right, let me play this one. You play this one. I want Red Garland on this one, and I want Mal Waldron on this one. And you kind of can't necessarily readily tell them apart on the recording either, because Mal's still playing in his earlier style. His later style was a more droning style, and his earlier style was like really clean vintage bebop, like Red Garland's playing. So that's that session, huh?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, incredible piece, and yeah, it's just like you said. It's just got all these components that suddenly seem to be coalescing, just in that one beautiful, beautiful ballad. So now we get on to our next cue, which is going to need a little bit of lead in because
Oh yeah.
he's now playing and practicing and gigging with Thelonious Monk. And had they played together before? Was this a new kind of encounter for the two of them? What was going on with that?
Well, from my understanding, when Monk stood up for Train when Miles was abusing him,
Oh, right.
firing him, Train went off to Philly, but I guess I'm sure Monk put it very clearly, come play with me. Come play with me. And then Monk, had words with Miles, got to beat the man up. All the guys were using this shit back then. All of them. Everybody. So to single one guy out, it doesn't seem fair. Maybe Miles should have beat up Paul Chambers and Philly Joe and Red Garland, because they're all junkies too.
Right.
Right? So Monk says, come play with me. So when Train comes back to New York, gives Monk a call. And Monk had a funny process where you had to learn his music by ear. He had all the music written down in a briefcase at the foot of his piano in his little apartment. So you can imagine the visual of like five brothers crowding into his little room, learning the music. And he would never show anybody the music written down in the briefcase. He wanted you all had to learn it by ear with him. He says you would never forget it, and you would play it right if you learned it by ear. And if you read it, you're never you don't learn it right, and you won't remember it. And everybody had to go through the monk, the monk college, the monk school. And you could imagine, it's so hilarious to me, like, Monk would play one of those weird chords. It's like a B flat 7 flat 5 over D. It's a really weird sound. He uses it on off minor. And you could imagine him playing gong gong, ba ba ba, with the bass notes, D in the bottom over a B flat 7 flat 5 chord. And you could imagine guys being like, all smoking cigarettes and smelling like B.O. or something in this little room and saying, all right, so what do you call that chord, Monk? You call that a B flat 7 flat 5 over D, or do you call that a D flat 6 9 da ba da boo da? What do you call it? You call it this or this? And Monk being like, yeah, just answering affirmative to all of it. Yeah. You have to call it what you want. It's this sound. It's these notes. These notes stacked this way that creates this resonance that sounds like this. So that's how everybody learned. And so Train was going over to his place every day, all day long. So Monk would go, grocery shopping, go down to the store to get a pack of smokes, go say hi to somebody, come back, Train still working on his music at his crib. And that went on for months. And Coltrane talks about it as it's like one of the greatest learning experiences of his life was learning about music and the spiritual thing and the intervals and the thing. That's from Monk. Monk's like the high priest of the whole thing. He's the grand sage. It's to the point where Monk taught Coltrane how to play multiphonics on the saxophone. That's a very saxophonic thing. That's like you hold down a note and you raise up a key to let the air leak out of it, and then you blow through the back pressure of it, the gurgling, and it creates this chord on the saxophone. And they usually sound pretty ugly and pretty terrifying, and it becomes part of your overtone practice and your quest to be a great woodwind player. You have to go through multiphonics, and you have to do it all your life. And all the greats can play. There's thousands of them on the horn. And while Train plays a multiphonic at the end of While My Lady Sleeps, he plays what is the family of multiphonics that are the first ones you're introduced to. They're the chords, like a B major chord and a B flat major chord, and they're using the palm keys, and they're the easiest ones to play. But there's 1,000 of them on there. And Monk showed Train how to play multiphonics on the saxophone, and Train laughs like he just seemed to intuit what it was. That shows the genius of Monk, in my opinion, right there.
Wow, amazing. Let's listen to a song called Nutty.
Now if I wanted to tee this up, this would be... We're going to do Blue Train in this episode, which is probably the single greatest. Coltrane plays the blues double up bebop language. Like, this is the one you want to take through all 12 keys. This is the one where he just spells out the language perfect. It's really, sorry about that. It's just perfect. He spells out the language just perfect. And this solo on Nutty is rhythm changes, where he just spells out the vocabulary. It's just incredible. Now, it's a slight variation on rhythm changes in that Nutty is the kind of rhythm changes that does rhythm changes on the 4 chord for the bridge instead of the Gershwin D7, G7, C7, F7 bridge. Rhythm changes is I Got Rhythm, the Gershwin tune, right?
Right.
1 6 2 5 3 6 2 5, and then you do the turnaround, da 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 da, and that's the A section. And then the bridge goes to D7, C7, and G7, C7, F7. This one, the bridge goes and does rhythm 1 6 2 5, but in E flat on the bridge. So it's a slight variation on rhythm changes.
All right, let's listen to Thelonious Monk with John Coltrane playing Nutty.